All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We are joined by the lovely Larsa Pippen from Real Housewives of Miami. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited. I have been dying to have you on the show because Miami, I talk about on our podcast all the time. I think the Miami franchise has been so underrated. The show is so good.
And we have so much fun filming it, honestly.
It is so fun. How excited were you to kind of get back into the game, into the show? Because it had been a long time.
Yeah, I feel like when I did the first season, it was like 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so much has changed. You know, I've changed as a person. So I felt like this was like the right time. My kids were older. I was ready. I was single. And I felt like it was just like the right time to get back out there.
Was there any hesitation to going back? Because the first time around, you weren't in it like the full time.
Well, I was in it. I just was like in a relationship and the person I was with really didn't care for it. Right. So it made it hard. And I think when you're trying to do something, you really can't do it 100% if your partner's not into it.
Right.
So this time around, I felt like I was single and ready to open up. My kids were older. I had more free time. And so it just made sense.
Yeah. So like Fran said, she is a huge fan of Miami. And she put me onto Miami because we just love Bravo in general. We'll keep up with everything. And I said right before you came in here, I was like, I keep up with the episodes, but sometimes I just zone out when Larsa's not on the screen. And then when you're on, like, I'm captivated, you know? I think it's fun to learn about your life. And especially this season, I feel like we're getting a whole new side of you.
Totally. I feel like we're supposed to do that. Aren't we supposed to evolve every year? Like, so I feel like it's like my evolution into like the new Larsa, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to get better.
Yeah. How much did you want to share, not share? Did you have conversations with Marcus before this season of how involved he would be? Because he's very much a part of the show now, it feels.
He really is.
Yeah.
He's very private. I don't think that he has ever wanted to be on a reality TV show or just to be put out there like that. But I think it's just like a natural situation for us. You know, we're together and I film a show. So he kind of signed up for it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And, naturally people have a lot of conversation about your relationship, but I think you knew that going into it because you are on a reality show and you guys are talking about your lives. Do you ever get tired of some of the questions that are asked? Because we know that you love talking about your love, and I think everyone can see that. My friend who was at BravoCon was actually saying that she was like, you can just feel how much they really love each other when people are around you guys. But then, of course, there are other questions that are always asked every time you are in an interview.
I feel like, I don't know. We didn't know each other before we started dating. Like we weren't, I didn't know him 100 years ago. I feel like, so a lot of people want to assume that and they want to make it into a negative thing. And I feel like for us, like we're so happy and we're in a great place that it's like, I don't really think about like all the negative stuff, to be honest with you. And I kind of like tune that out because it doesn't really like affect my day to day. You know, what affects my day to day is me surrounding myself with good people, positive people, people that I look up to and people that are doing great things. If you're not doing great things, like I don't really care what your opinion is. If I don't respect you and want to be like you, then like, why do I care?
Yeah. Right. And people say that is hard, right? To ignore, the negative. What was it like for you at first? And were there tips or tricks that you kind of taught yourself? Like, hey, don't worry about what people are saying about this.
I feel like, I was married to an athlete from the time I was really young. So I've always had to like endure like the good, the bad, the evil. So I feel like I've kind of gotten used to the negativity at times. I feel like it's just a part of my world. So I don't know. I just feel like I don't really like listen to all the noise. It's just noise and it doesn't really affect me.
That's great. I mean, and we see on the show this past episode, you're talking with your daughter and kind of saying, oh, you'd rather have Marcus here. So it's he obviously gets along with everybody.
Yes.
What was the initial like bringing him in? Did you say to your kids like, I have a new boyfriend, or was it more of like a gradual integration?
So we were friends for years.
Okay.
So we would always be on FaceTime, or he'd always call me, and I'd always walk into the other room where the kids were on speaker, and I'd be like, oh, hey, say hi. Like my kids are like my best friends, so they kind of know everything before anyone knows anything. We're really tight at home. So they already knew him. They knew he was like super funny. They knew he was cool. So it was like they knew he was my friend. And then just like over time, it turned into more. And so it wasn't like a shock to my kids because they already knew
he was
him.
already a part. Yeah, he was already around. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
I I loved what he said too in the episode of like, I'm not trying to fill any type of role. I'm just here to like be a friend. And you kind of joke that sometimes they even team up on you.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
What is that like for you to see that dynamic?
I kind of love it.
Yeah, right.
Like, I love it. I love the fact that my kids are super comfortable around him, and they like talk and they kind of joke around about it, with each other, about each other. Like, so I feel like they have a great relationship, which is really important for me because it's really hard, like, to meet someone that can fit all these different boxes, I feel like it's hard to bring someone into my life. My kids are like superstars.
Yeah.
And they don't really need anyone, we don't really need anyone, but it's like when you meet someone that just adds value to your family, to your life, then it just works.
Do your kids have any interest of being on the show with you sometimes, or they're just kind of like, Mom, this is your show?
Well, my boys have zero interest, by the way. They're athletes. They're busy with, school and just focused on their careers. My daughter's 15. She's more apt to like wanting to film. I'll say, hey, Sophie, let's go shopping. And she loves to shop.
Right.
So she'll like want to do that kind of stuff. But my boys, not so much. And I don't want to put pressure on them. And even on like social media, my boys are not like, if you look at their social media, it's all basketball. It's not like them going to dinners or them going to lunches. So I feel like a lot of people want me to post my kids more, but they don't want to take any photos. Like, they're like, no photos.
They're dedicated to the game.
Yeah. Which I like. I don't want them. I like them to be focused on the things that like make them better, make them feel good.
Yeah. I thought the conversation in last night's episode was funny where you guys talked about, if your kids are spoiled or privileged. And I felt like Marcus had to like remind you a little bit like, Larsa, like, they're privileged. And he was like, because he was like, I grew up privileged. Like, I know what that's like. After that conversation where you're like, okay, maybe.
I mean, I guess they are privileged. Yeah. They are. But they're great kids, so it's okay.
Yeah, right. So as long as you have a good head on your shoulders. Exactly.
No, they're totally not bratty.
Exactly.
My kid's like my son's 18 years old, and he's getting recruited to go to all these great schools. Like, he has Stanford and Texas A&M and all these like big schools that are like obsessed with him. And, he's never gotten a B ever in his life.
Good for him.
Like,
couldn't be me.
Yeah, he literally like my
really
kids.
impressive.
And my older son Scotty was at Vanderbilt, like on the dean's list.
Yeah.
So I feel like my kids are really good kids, and so I feel like I should spoil them.
Yeah. This is maybe a silly question, but do you enjoy all the basketball?
I do.
Yeah.
I love basketball.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You're not basketballed out.
Right. You love going to the games and you can't get enough, right?
I literally love it. I could coach a team. I love it.
Because even when we saw you put together the charity event and all the girls were playing on the show, like, what was that like? Because boy, some of those ladies,
first
not
of all,
an athletic bone in their body.
We needed a few wheelchairs for that game. Just saying, like, it was not. It was fun. It was really fun though.
Yes,
but the girls are not athletic. They're just pretty. They're just pretty girls.
Right. It was nice that they all showed up though, to do it. Right.
They showed up. It was for a good cause. It was for Make a Wish, which I love. And it was just fun.
Yeah.
I like to do stuff like that with my girlfriends. I think it like takes us out of our element,
Definitely.
It's definitely different than what,
I'll invite you guys to the next charity game.
Please.
Sports driven.
We can ball.
Yeah.
No, I think that what is great about watching you on this show too is sometimes you insert yourself in the drama that I feel like you have an opinion on. And when there's stuff going on that you're like, I have no dog in this fight. You just let everybody else like do their thing. Like, it's not this whole few episodes has been about Adriana bringing Anna to the brunch and you were kind of like, I didn't really know her then, like I don't really know her now, I'm not getting involved.
I pick and choose my battles. I'm like, I pick and choose my battles.
Yeah, it's because I guess, has it been frustrating at all? Kind of, I know as a viewer, for me, it's been frustrating. Just like, I think Adriana can be so funny and authentic, but she gets kind of caught up in fighting or maybe trying to bring the other girls down a little bit. What has been your relationship like with her?
I feel like there's times I want to like be close to her. I want to be friends with her. But at the same time, I'm like, she's just one of those people that's like a snake in the grass. Right. Like, you don't know when she's going to come out and like, kind of say something about you or do something to you. And I feel like I'm not like that. Like, I don't really talk about people. If I say something, like, I'll say it to your face. I'm not going to say it at my confessional. Like, I'll just say it to your face so we all understand what the problem is. Yeah. And I feel like other people are not like that. Like, they just like to bark just to bark. I'm like, she's more of a chihuahua. She likes to bark a whole lot. And I'm more of like a pit bull. Like, I don't bark. I just bite. Yeah. So that's just like what I'm used to.
You're going right for the throat.
Yeah. And like, that's just kind of what I'm used to,
Yeah. You guys have been on you've been all back together for a while now, but sometimes you see fans and talk about maybe like the older cast who had been together and known each other longer, the newer people, and that maybe there is still kind of a divide. Do you feel a divide when you're with all the ladies?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like because like the OGs, we've been around each other for so long.
Exactly, yeah.
And we've seen each other go through like so many different things. And I feel like you're always going to make up with someone that you have history with.
Right.
You know, we could say the craziest things to each other, but like when you've known someone for a really long time, it's kind of like you have to give them a pass. I don't care what it is. Like you're like, I've known her for so long. I love her.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt watching right now with like me. I'm like, oh my God, why is Nicole getting all the flack for the brunch from Alexia and Marisol when it's like, but they admitted it. They're like, oh, you know, with Adriana, we know what we get. We know that that's how she's like, and we know she's like that. And like Nicole, we think Nicole's like a little more vindictive.
I will say the ability for housewives to get over things quickly. I mean, sometimes people don't get over things quickly.
Yeah.
But other times I'm like impressed. For instance, I was watching Beverly Hills and you see Sutton call Kyle Richards a bitch, and then 2 seconds later Sutton's like, I'm sorry, and Kyle's like, it's okay. And I'm like, I kind of love that you could just call someone a bitch and then be like, I'm sorry that happened. So kind of for the same instance for you guys, it's like,
you have that with the people you know longer.
You know them long, and you know that you're gonna have to film again, and you kind of have to like forgive and maybe not forget always, but
yeah, it's kind of like your sibling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you know how like you're stuck with your siblings forever, and you can say crazy things to each other, and then like at some point you know you're gonna have to make up with them. It's kind of like that being on Housewives. Like we could say the craziest thing to each other, but then at the end of the day, you know you're gonna have to make up.
Yeah, that is such a good point. It's like thinking about the stuff that my sister and I have said to each other.
Same.
The meanest things possible.
Same.
And then the next second you're hanging out and
you're like, what do you want me to order us to eat?
Yeah. Are you hungry?
Yeah.
And then your parents are like, what? Like they just can't keep up. And that's how we feel watching this show sometimes. Are you watching the episodes back?
I watch that. We get them like a few days before they're put online. But yeah.
Do you watch it all, or do you skip to your parts?
No, I kind of watch it all because, you know, this season I've witnessed a lot of my friends talking shit about me. And
that's
so
why you kind of
now-
got to
you gotta take the notes.
And I'm like, really?
Right.
Like, I just don't understand. And if you had those feelings, why didn't you tell me to my face? Like,
And that's where that comes up on the reunion.
yeah. I just feel like for me, I'm not like that. I'm not shady, you know?
Have you guys filmed your reunion yet for this season?
No.
It's coming up soon, right? That's always juicy.
Yeah.
I do think one of the biggest things that felt like you were part of this season was Gertie had told you about her cancer diagnosis and had said, you know, kind of keeping this under wraps right now. And of course, the way they edit it is for some, you know, trying to take something that is very serious and like they put a little comedic spin to it, where it was you being like, Gertie has cancer. Gertie has cancer.
No, but honestly, you guys.
So how did you? Yeah, what really went down there?
Okay, so we met for lunch and we argued for like 30 minutes before that scene.
Okay.
And then I didn't understand, like we were arguing back and forth about her talking about me on social media, calling me the fakest of all the housewives. And I never had beef with her. I've always been like her biggest supporter. And then she says, like after we're like arguing, yelling, and she's like, I have cancer. And then she says, well, you're the first person I've told. And then 2 seconds later, she goes, well, I told a few of the girls. I told my husband. I told like she just starts adding the list. I was so confused because I'm like, wait, first you said I was the first person you said. Then we're fighting about going to social media and like media outlets talking about each other. So when she goes, keep it in confidence, I assumed she meant, don't go tell TMZ.
Right.
Don't go tell social media. So I had been having all these conversations behind her back after Alexia's, we all were. We're like, she's so radical. What's going on with her? And so me telling my best friends, like, oh my God, she has cancer, was like a way of me feeling bad about me even arguing with her. Like it wasn't coming from a place of like, I'm gossiping about her. Like I've never talked about Gertie ever.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I was trying to explain to my best friends who, you know everything about me. And then me telling the girls like, hey, I want to do something special for her. It wasn't coming from a place of like gossip. Like, how do you gossip about that?
Right. Because it did seem like it did seem like the beginning episodes, everyone was kind of like, something's going on with Gertie. We can't quite figure it out. And when you do obviously figure out, you're like, oh, there's something really serious going on.
Yeah.
It is something you share. It's like, oh, just want to let you know.
But in real life, if
serious.
you heard something like that about someone you knew, are you not going to go back and tell your other friends, like, hey, we should do something special for that person? Like, of course you would.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like she took it, she's just took it and like just ran with it all season long. And it was like, I just feel like, it didn't come from a mean place. But, a lot of times when you don't know each other, you might assume that. But if her and I had that long history that I have with like Lisa, Alexia, all those other girls, they would have never took it like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Do you feel like she was planning on telling the other girls soon after your conversation, or did you get the feeling like when she
We're on a TV show.
Yeah, right.
You were on a TV show. This is being filmed.
First of all, we're being filmed. And then she says she told a few of the girls. So how do I know which girls she told?
Yeah.
And then she says, she said, I told this person and that person. The list kept growing. So I didn't think it was me, trying to talk about her negatively. I've never talked about the woman, you guys. So for me to get so much backlash over that was really hurtful. And for me, I'm the only one out of this whole cast that does stuff for cancer every year since season 1. I've been on the board of so many charities. I had a Make-A-Wish event. Thank God that, they aired it the next episode. Because I was like, it just makes me look so insensitive. But in all honesty, I sat there and had lunch with her and I was mad at her for her talking shit about me.
Right.
I was like, why are you telling the media that I'm the fakest of all the housewives?
Right.
And then it turned out to be that. But, I wish her nothing but health and happiness and all that stuff. But it definitely was hard for me because it hurt me to my soul because I'm like, I am not that person.
Right.
And to be portrayed in that light, it's just not fair,
It must be very conflicting for her too, because it's like, oh, you're going through so much personally in your own personal health, but you were on this show where perspective, women sitting, everyone yelling at each other. In your mind, you're probably like, who cares about this? So it's coming out of her at different times where sometimes she is kind of in the group and doing everything, and then also times where she's calling everybody out this is this is crazy. Look I have real stuff going on. So it's a dose of reality TV because you are on a Real Housewives show and seeing her real life.
If I was sick and I wasn't feeling good, I just wouldn't go.
Right.
I just wouldn't go. I feel like your health is more important than all this other stuff. Than if it were me, I just wouldn't go.
Yeah. Do you think that sometimes, and then this is more towards, I guess, kind of like Nicole has gotten into more drama with talking behind people's backs or rumors and whatnot. Do you think sometimes the newer cast try to say things for shock value or to stir the pot a little bit?
Well, I think some of us have more going on in our real lives than other people. And some of us don't need to do all the extra stuff for attention because we just naturally have it because we live a great life. We do fun things. And some of us need it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Julia singing at the at the party, the opera was one of the funniest parts of this whole season. I think
fun, yeah.
Fully training with a singer. I can't believe those real musicians were you're doing so great.
So
what was it like in the moment at the party watching her get up there? Because people seemed kind of moved by her performance, but watching it I was like, oh my God.
No, it was really fun. It was really fun. I'm proud of her for doing that.
Yeah.
She did something that was totally out of her element, which is amazing.
And Martina loved it.
Yeah,
which I guess was really all that mattered, right? Martina was so impressed. So I guess
she was really excited.
Really is the only thing that matters. But do you prefer filming with the whole group together, or do you like it when you're kind of one off with individual people?
I kind of feel like I like the one-offs better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you're one-off that maybe if not other people are around, you can't have somebody have your back though at some points? Maybe if it's a one-off conversation, it's just two people, somebody's right, somebody's wrong in each other's eyes. But when you're in a group, you can kind of have somebody be like, do you agree with me?
Good. I'm good alone. I can handle my battles.
Yeah.
I don't need a bunch of people to be like, she's right. I feel like one-on-one is where you basically can say everything, get everything out. And when you have other people yelling and getting involved.
Right.
And
then more opinions.
Totally. But a lot of times you guys for instance, Lisa and I, like, we've known each other forever. We're like sisters. So even if we fight, like, a new person can't come into our relationship and give me advice because you don't know what we've been through.
Right.
You don't know, like, our dynamic. You don't know our relationship. So it's like, it's easier if it's just like the two people that know each other and have had history and, you know.
Yeah.
Right. That is true. Sometimes people have opinions about other people's friendships or relationships when they don't know the dynamic when they're not around.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you love being back in like the whole Miami life, or because of course like, you were filming Miami, lived in LA for a long time. What lifestyle do you prefer? The LA lifestyle, the Miami lifestyle?
I kind of like both.
Yeah.
I kind of like both.
Do you do best of both worlds now?
Yeah. Yeah. My kids want to live in LA, so they go to school in LA, and I'm in Miami, so we kind of go back and forth.
And that works.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
two
it.
hot spots.
Yeah. I feel like two different coasts. I like
Yeah.
my LA friends. I like my Miami friends. It's just
Right.
fun.
What's the biggest difference, do you think, between your LA friends and your Miami friends?
My Miami friends are up for about anything, anytime. My LA friends are more of like a schedule thing.
Yeah.
So they want to know, like, oh, let's plan a week from now. Whereas in Miami, I feel like people are more apt to, like, if I call you at 6 and say, let's go to dinner, they'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miami people are looking for a party.
Yeah, they love to party, yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. I feel like, you know, you can obviously find your places in LA to be out and stay out late, but Miami stays out late like no other city does.
It's
I
just
think.
more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So we watched you on Watch What Happens Live, and there was discussions of engagement down the line. It's coming. What are those conversations been like? Do you know what he has planned for you, or you think you're going to be surprised?
I do not. He's very secretive.
Good. Well,
You guys, he's very secretive, and he's got a great poker face. So I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to see what happens. You know, I don't want to put pressure on him. I feel like the world like keeps asking, and it's kind of like, I don't want to do that to him. You know, I feel like he's not, I don't know. I just want to
but
make
he's
the right decision at the right time.
and he has answered in a good way though, right? Like he's like, look, it's
Right.
Everything's in the works.
Yeah.
Was it brought up by the outside, or was it something that you guys talked about and then people grabbed onto? Because I feel like all of a sudden the marriage conversation started coming up more, the last name conversation started coming up more, and it was
You guys
like,
have your own show.
yeah, and it was like, but the step of an engagement has not happened yet.
I don't know. I feel like people just want to see where our relationship is going to go, you know? And I want to see where our relationship is going to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we're just in a great place.
Right.
We really have fun together. We enjoy each other. We're like best friends. And so that's, you know, where we are.
You talked about having frozen eggs stored in LA. Is that anything you would want to unfreeze at a certain point, or you're happy with?
No, I feel like if I was to be with someone like I am now that
Yeah.
doesn't have kids, I feel like if he wanted to have kids, I would be up for it.
Yeah, you would be down.
I feel like I love being a mom. That's like my favorite, you know, title I've ever had ever.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's got to be hectic. Your name is in the press a lot, and it gets a lot of attention. Not only your relationship gets attention, but like tabloids, social media stuff, always they make headlines out of that. How do you deal with all of that as well?
I don't know. I'm kind of dealing with it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
I feel like I don't really listen to the loud noise. I just kind of live my life, you know, and focus on all the right things and not necessarily all the bullshit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I try to stay clear of that.
Do people send it to you, or do you kind of see it? Like, say, you know, somebody writes an article, and does it get sent to you, or are you like scrolling and you see it pop up and you're like, oh, and you keep scrolling?
Both. Both. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because I think too when you have such eyes on you on social media, people pick apart everything.
Yeah, I just
that you
posted a
post.
bikini pic the other day, and they said it was photoshopped, and it really wasn't. I looked big as a house in that photo, and I'm like, by the way,
Not true.
No, literally, I was like, oh, I should have photoshopped it. And then my dad called, and he didn't like the photo, and my dad was like, the photo you published, I need you to take down. So then I took it down, and people thought I took it down because of
Right, because I was going to say there's
Photoshop claims.
headlines
Yeah, I saw
right
that
now
article.
that say that
Yeah,
you deleted a
but it-
photo because of Photoshop.
Yeah, but it wasn't. And I'm like, by the way, I didn't even look skinny in that photo. I should have photoshopped that photo, by the way. Like,
Not true. But it must be frustrating though, because I feel like Photoshop does get called out a lot on social media, especially now. But there are times where I see people calling out Photoshop, and I'll look at a picture whatever. And sometimes I'll agree and go, yeah, that's definitely photoshopped. And then other times I'm like, I don't think that one's photoshopped. Like, I think we're just calling this out for
people love to cry. People love to say
they just love to say everything's photoshopped, especially when somebody looks really good.
Yeah,
they just want to go, oh, that that's photoshopped. But that is funny that your dad called you and said something. Like, is that something that happens often where he's looking at your Instagram going, Larsa?
Yes. You guys, I come from a really traditional background. So I feel like my sister started calling me yesterday. Then my mom started calling me. And then once my dad texted me, I was like, I got to take the photo down. Like, I just can't deal with the smoke. It's too much.
Does your family know about all your business ventures?
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
They're not supportive of all of them.
Right.
But, I feel like it's, I kind of have to be authentic to who I am, what I like, but at the same time, I feel like my family, if I'm getting on everyone's nerve, I have to take it down.
Right. And Instagram is obviously a very public thing. At least sometimes for other things, you can be like, look, people are paying for this.
I'm like, I just took it down.
Right, that is true. You are on the new season of Traitors. How was filming that?
That was so much fun, you guys. You have to watch season 2. It actually drops on Friday.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited to tune in. There's so many great people a part of this cast.
It was so much fun being in this castle in Scotland. And me being able to do this with Marcus was so much fun. We had a great time. And we actually had a conversation before we went to Scotland, and we're like, hey, look, we're going, we're a couple, but we're going into this as individuals. So I hope you win. I hope you're a traitor. But meanwhile, I was like, I want to be a traitor.
Right.
And I would murder him if I had to.
I will take you down.
Literally.
If that's what it takes.
You gotta clarify that for it. We're going in for a game.
Yeah, I love you, but
this is not personal.
If I have to go through
all
you to win.
I was like, this is not personal. It's all business. So
did you meet anybody there that you really connected with from anybody else in the cast?
So many people. Yeah, I feel like
it's such a great cast.
It really was, and everybody was so different, and there were other housewives on the show. It was a lot of fun. And for me, I'm not used to doing physical challenges. It's just not my thing. I don't want to jump out of a helicopter. I don't want to be buried. I don't want rats on my shoulders. I just don't like that kind of stuff. But it was just I did something that was totally out of my element.
Stepping out of your comfort zone. It's fun.
When
and
we
it's such
first
a fun
got
show.
there, they took us to this huge Olympic-sized pool, and they said swim, back and forth. I don't even know how many times. They made you swim through a hula hoop underwater, and they made you pick up a brick from the bottom of the pool. So I was like, am I training for the Navy SEAL? Right. and then they're like, oh, your time was so good. You're a great swimmer. And I was like, no, I'm really not. I'm only good in a pool. I'm from Miami. I'm only good in a pool. Meanwhile, they were taking us into these the locks, and the water's black. And I'm like, I don't want to swim in cold, dark water. I just don't.
Right.
No. All of those shows, it's crazy, crazy what.
Yeah, some people like the adventure.
And an experience to talk about after.
Oh, totally. I'm telling you guys, I did things, you'll see, it drops on Friday, things that I would normally never do.
Yeah. I'm really excited
Very excited to
for
watch
this season.
Are there any of the other Housewives franchises that you really get along with, or any of the ladies that you'd like to hang out with? Because of course, when we see BravoCon and everybody hanging out, it's so interesting to see who gets along across what shows. Who do you like to hang out with the most?
I don't know. I feel like I like hanging out with I shot a little bit of Beverly Hills. So I'm friends with Garcelle, Erica, Crystal. Crystal and I live on the same street. We live 2 minutes apart.
Really?
I just recently met Teresa Giudice at BravoCon, and her and I became really good friends. Melissa Gorga, I'm friends with so many different people. It's just cool because I feel like we do have a lot in common. It's kind of being on this platform and being under pressure sometimes, or dealing with the scrutiny. You can always call people. I call Jennifer all the time from Jersey, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. I shouldn't have said this. And then she always gives me advice.
Right. It's the only other people that can understand what you're going
through. Those Jersey Housewives love getting themselves in trouble too.
They're so good at it.
Do you watch any of the other shows?
You know what? I do sometimes, but I'm not I do.
There's 9 million shows.
Right.
It's hard to keep up with
all of them.
Yeah.
But when there's juicy stuff going on, it makes sense.
That's totally it.
Yeah. When you see, or if you hear your friends talking about something, it's oh, I'll check out that episode.
Yeah, totally.
That's what I want to watch.
Do you keep up with any of the Salt Lake? Have you seen what's happening with Salt Lake City right now?
I just see it on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
a lot.
It's one of the craziest.
How would you feel
Housewives.
if a new Miami housewife came in next season, and at the end of the season you found out she was a part of a anonymous gossip account talking shit about all the ladies?
No, you guys, it's just I don't know. You know what happens when you get on these shows? It doesn't matter how big you are in your real life, normal life. It doesn't matter who your circle is. When you get on these shows, you all become the same. And I feel like it's hard sometimes because you have people that are talking crazy to you that are nobody in your world.
Right.
So I'm sure they're looking at her like you are no one in this world, but now she has a platform.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's got to be challenging for the girls.
That's kind of what I was what I was saying too. It's like they're all on the same show now.
Yeah.
Like that's so
right.
It's hard.
They all got there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Larsa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for coming. We were so excited to meet you and talk to you. Real Housewives of Miami has been so great. Peacock, Bravo, however you watch it. Wednesday nights, Thursdays on Peacock. Yep. It's great. And Traitors is on Peacock as well for everybody to watch, which is so great. Traitors is coming today. This will come out tomorrow. So this will be out. So everybody can watch Traitors on Peacock. Stream it. We're so excited to watch that as well. And tune in for the rest of the season in Miami. We're excited.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
You guys had a great time.